Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as Doc V, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for those seeking to define their own path into purposed entrepreneurship. This is a show about transforming perspectives, as well as inspiring and motivating you to think without a box by exposing you to global thought leaders, change agents, and legacy builders across industries on how exactly they successfully define their path in life and business to profitability and sustainable wins. At Defining Paths, folks, we operate in true transparency and love to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business. And the Define Your Path podcast is absolutely no different. It all starts in the heart and in the mind, folks. Will you be the captain or the crew? Do you have a heart condition or are you heart healthy? So our spotlight today is with the Annabel Quintero. I am so excited to introduce her, to tell you a little bit about her. She is truly a sister from another mister, and you are absolutely going to love this spotlight today. So Annabel is a certified wellness coach. She's a best-selling author and DEI strategist, also known as a cultural wellness coach. Her best-selling book, Step, Step, Jump, is a story of hope, dedicated to helping others transform trauma to triumph. Annabel's life was irrevocably altered, folks, on September 11th, 2001, when she narrowly escaped from the 46th floor of the One World Trade Center. As the founder of her professional development and collective wellness company, she is devoted to leading wellness workshops that go beyond physical appearance, but actually redefines wellness by using different cultural lenses. As a result of her speaking and workshops, she helps leaders and coaches embrace their story, their offering, and call to action, resulting in sustainable lifestyle changes for their communities. So Annabel, she's a storytelling coach, a lifelong big girl. So who? All right, for the big girls. An advocate, a speaker, best-selling author, and certified holistic coach. Folks, let's welcome Annabel Quintero to the show. Welcome, sis. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, sis.
I am too excited. I have been waiting for this day. I know you're extremely busy. We had to reschedule, but all is well. And I know the audience is absolutely going to love this segment with you. So we look forward to hearing your story and how you faced your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing your passion and soul purpose. So there are two questions that I ask. How have you defined your path, and how do you help others define theirs? And then you and I will just riff between those questions. So it's your spotlight. So you may take the stage, lady.
Thank you so much. Defining my path. I always share a memory of being in my younger 20s in New York. I had just moved from Seattle. So I was born and raised in Seattle, and I wanted to take a big bite out of the Big Apple. So I moved to New York and was able to find myself like in this place where I was pursuing my dreams, definitely defining my path. Like I moved there, I was modeling, I was B-girling, dancing with Rocksteady Crew and New York City Breakers. And I don't know if anyone, it's like hip hop royalty.
Yes.
Hanging out with the cultural architects of hip hop, and really, and then I landed this job on Wall Street. So I had my destiny in my hands, right? I just was like, yes, I'm doing this, and found myself in a magazine like a year after moving there. I moved in 99. And thinking that I was just doing everything I possibly could in my life to live out my dreams. And then I just, one day just going to work, I was responsible for getting my boss ready to trade on the stock market. And out of nowhere, like this plane just hit my tower. And I was like, I didn't even know what it was. I shook around and I was just like, oh my goodness. And got up, went out to the window to look to see what happened. And it was the clearest sky in September. It was just sunny and beautiful. and there was nothing wrong. And then I felt an earthquake, and I was like, okay, what's going on? Now something fell on top of my building. I feel an earthquake. And I look back into the office and all the sunshine went away. It was just this whole muted gray, and I knew I had to leave. And I got real afraid because the rumbling, it was shaking again. And then all of a sudden it was like, it stopped. And I was like, ay, Dios mío, ¿qué hago? And right then, seeing all the sunshine gone, I knew I had to leave. And I was met with, oh my goodness, just shaking. I was being thrown around like a rag doll in a fun house. Here I was on the stairwell, and it took me forever to get down 46 flights. And that's what the whole book is about, is step jumping, is like me being confronted with my mortality, my life. And I was like, there's no way. I'm here. I have to make it out of this building. And that whole day of surviving September 11th wasn't, I thought, ever part of my destiny or defining anything in my life, but it most certainly did. It really, I confronted so much of what I had thought had given me so much power, you know, my title, working on Wall Street, and all these things that we feel give us prestige. And I was just brought to this humble place of just my humanity and the humanity of others, and that being the most important thing in life. And that completely shifted how I viewed myself, and you know how you just let your ego go and you just think of yourself in all these ways because of your ego. And I was just on this ever since then. I've just been focused on who is the best, and who is Annabel today? How can she show up best in this moment with the information I have? And how can I relate to someone today in any way, even just showing up with a smile, right? It's like, you'd be amazed about that. But that day taught me so much about the importance of being grateful for this life and in any way that we can, and not have our life be defined by our productivity or our title or how much money we have in the bank, but truly our relationships, how much we love, the peace that we can create in our minds and in our bodies, and really just relating to Mother Earth and, you know, being grateful for this life that she gives us. So it's completely shifted me in this trajectory. And I think that's why I want to just serve people and help people on their own path, wherever they may be, just so that they can also evolve to their next and just keep step jumping into their greatness.
Girl, look, you know, and I've heard your story before, right? You know, this is we met. I remember the first time we met. You know, Lisa Nichols. What was it? We were Ignite Your Speaking and Writing.
Yeah.
And you know, and you come out, you know, and you're delivering your speech, and you're doing the step jump with this music, and I'm thinking you're just dancing, right, girl? And then you just break out with this, and I'm like, whoa. And you know, it's amazing how you've taken, you know, this experience that could have destroyed you. It could have killed you. It could have destroyed you, you know, killed you in so many different ways, much less a building falling on you. But you've turned that into an empowering platform, you know, and just an appreciation for humanity. So I want to deep dive on that a little bit before we kind of pivot to how you help people employ this in their life. But, you know, you've really tapped into the human side, you know, of why we're here. I mean, you know, and just our, you know, seeking and finding, you know, that soul purpose. So can we
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about that? Because we're all like on this path, right? We're placed on these paths to just, to be pursuing, to go, to get, to be about your business and, handle your business. What does all that mean? Right? And then life happens and then you realize, oh.
Oh, yeah. I think because handling my business, most certainly after the 11th, I couldn't do that. I couldn't show up for the day. I couldn't do this thing called life. I could not do adulting. I strictly saw and felt myself as a being with a soul in it. And all these man-made constructs and mindsets did not rub my soul right. So I was in complete, not in alignment, completely like against all these man-made constructs. And I'm not saying that they don't serve us. I'm just sharing this moment where it's like, when you confront your mortality and then you're looking at life, you just see all the things that are a waste of time, that really don't mean anything, that are just a story in our head or a story in someone else's head who was around 100, 200 years ago, and we're still living out that story. And I was like, well, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I mean, the PTSD was real. And then let alone at the time, I didn't know what it was, but I didn't realize I was also working through intergenerational trauma. Even I talk about it in my book, like being in the cab and like, I'm a political science major. Like I love learning about societies and cultures. And that was my focus in college. And so when I was in the cab, I was like, why would someone want to kill me? Oh, they want to kill us, not me. And I was like, how bad of a life must someone have for them to actually come up with the courage to take their own life, to try to take mine and everyone else's. And so I was trying to figure out what was going on in their world, what was going on to like all that separation, right? Like just to understand it, because I was just trying to make sense of it. And I realized, oh my goodness, like, I mean, I love our country. But I still was looking at our collective sins, like what we have done as a country, slavery, and then the genocide of indigenous people. And those are my people. I am indigenous, I am African, and I'm also European, right? That was done also by my European ancestors, my Latino ancestors. And so confronting that and the intergenerational trauma of, oh, this is how it must have felt to be conquered. This is how war really feels. It's not just entertainment. It's not just a movie. It's not just something that I watch on TV. It's real and it's devastating and it tears you apart. And all of that, both the day of and then, afterwards, making sense of that, really just, I realized that there's so many stories and systems that perpetuate the harm, that continue harming ourselves and others. And that's where I was able to really see the critical eye between, okay, there's certain things that serve us, and there's other things that just need a whole revamp. We need to just make it human-centered, make it people-centered, and then we can move on. So that was a huge part of my journey, and it was an ugly time. It took a lot of time for me to heal, ground my senses every day. I mean, I had to do a lot of things to evolve to where I am now. I mean, it did take me almost 20 years. So it wasn't overnight, right? And I think that's the thing about healing and evolving as a person personally and then also professionally, is that, when you experience something so traumatic, it does take you a lot of time to get yourself to a place where you are thriving, because you can thrive even in one area of your life, and then others you might still be just getting by.
Yeah, totally. It's that whole functioning dysfunctional thing.
The whole performative resilience, like Just because you
Yes,
show up for work and you're
yes.
grieving a loss of a loved one. I was grieving a lot for everyone who passed away on September 11th. I felt
Yeah.
guilty for being alive. So every time we would go to war and then there would be another country, I was devastated. Like I was no good that day and days after, because I knew what it felt like to be on the other end of bombs falling on you, or you not being safe. And so, not in agreement with any war, of course, because women and children lose in war all the time. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. And so, it was, the performative resilience, right? And it's like, and we have to, right? We have to eat, we have to take care of our families. So I get it. But then at what point do we finally get back to ourselves?
And this is a perfect pivot into how you help others define their paths. And I really feel like it's you do a phenomenal job in bringing forth those uncomfortable conversations about our ancestral heritage, how all of that is at play in our lives and affects our choices, our decision making, how we show up in the world, how we think about others, just facing the inability to face fears. So let's talk about that, and just how it's amazing to me how this has become your your platform, and just the stripping down to bare humanity, the rawness of humanity, and how we all are the same. Yeah, we may look different, or we may come from, different ethnic backgrounds or what have you, but we're truly one people of this earth. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about just how you illuminate that, how you help people think without that box, the boxes that the world tries to put us into, or man puts us into.
Oh yeah, I'd say two things is allowing everyone to share their story, right? Like your story allows you to share a part of yourself that has happened, right? It's your own history that you're contributing to the world. It's not, you don't have to get into argument with someone. It's not a debate, and it's just storytelling. So storytelling, I feel, is in some ways, well, it's ancient. It's always been an ancient practice. And it's also so cathartic. Even me writing my book has healed me, even if it's been like a year. It's just where I am now from where I was last year, completely different person. And also just being able to share our culture, like leading with our culture, I think is also really important, because, and that's those uncomfortable conversations, right? Sometimes people just need music and need a party and need to like dance and move their body and have a cultural experience, instead of only thinking of diversity training as all mental and only vocabulary and only history. Like, yes, those are extremely important. And so is actually having a cultural experience. Like if we want to embrace, we all want to be accepted as who we are, right? Like all of us, doesn't matter what culture or gender, that we are. It's like, we just want to be accepted and feel like we belong and be included. And I think the best way to do that many times is to just share our culture and then also storytell.
Yes.
Yeah. So I plan on doing that this Sunday. In fact, on the 11th, I'm having this whole rebirth celebration. It's September 11th. And I'm having a band, and we're going to have music and food, and I'm going to be storytelling, and having that be a way to share my culture, allow people to experience it, and then also just hear all the stories that are in my book.
Oh, I love that. This is going to be such an amazing time, because when we tend to, I think, tell our stories, I mean, we're sharing ourselves, right? We're not in competition, and our minds aren't working in that competitive mode or what have you. We're literally just sharing our truth, our reality. And it's very disarming, which is a beautiful thing. And I think we seem to be afraid to do that, most people, so then we
True.
take on the stories of others or of our ethnicity or, whatever the case may be, instead of, healing ourselves by the sharing of our own stories. And it's so powerful. I love what you said about how sharing your story, I mean, it was scary, same thing with me.
Oh yeah,
But
we
it was
tend to
so
just
scary.
walk away from that.
Yeah.
We tend to be like, no, we're not including anything that is going to disturb our emotional state.
Yes. Yes.
And we compartmentalize it. I know I did. I mean,
Yeah,
how many of you here have like a hidden story that you haven't shared with someone?
exactly.
I mean, I think there's probably so many. I mean, I love to see, people's comments and what they write. But I really feel that there is so much of ourselves that is almost, I think, it's hidden. There's a part of us that is hiding, and the storytelling allows us to share and be courageously vulnerable and to experience a whole other part of ourselves and get past that plateau in a way that I think it's, for me, I mean, that's been the best modality for me, is to share my story. So I hope others do the same.
Absolutely. Courageously vulnerable. I love that. Because we think being vulnerable is a weakness, but it is truly courageous, admitting that, because really it's kind of like once you understand that there's strength and weakness, in that vulnerability, and not weakness has so many different definitions and, connotations. But just again, thinking without that box and looking at life different, and it's about perspective and how you approach it. So, for those folks who have, or are sitting there thinking, okay, well, this is an amazing story. It's powerful, and I've been through some things, I've been through some trauma, but I don't really see how I turn that, into a business or, and not in a superficial way, but just in general, how do I tell my story? Because telling your story is the start of you putting yourself back in business and putting other people back in business by showing them that they too, have survived. They too can come out of, a state of PTSD and, and the trauma that they're in. So, for folks who feel like they're in a place where they're not happy, they're in a profession or what have you, a career that they're not happy with, and they feel like something is tugging at their hearts as they're listening to you. I mean, what do you say to them? What are the words of wisdom that you might give them, and just kind of pursuing or exploring this what they're feeling, this pull, which I believe is their pull toward their soul purpose.
Well, so many, I think we all have those painful stories, those painful moments, those life-altering events. And that is your wisdom, and that is your wealth. And so no matter how detrimental a situation is, you now know how to live through that and how to help someone move through that, because you've now done it.
Yes.
So in thinking about how someone can take that, so take all, and I know a lot of people, I mean, my goodness, the stories, right? That no one, you hear them when finally someone feels safe. But if someone's struggling, definitely look at all these challenges and how did you move through it? How could you help someone else move through it? How could you help someone understand it? Because policymakers need to understand people in your situation that you're 20 steps before them. They need help to understand, okay, how am I going to move through the system and also get out of the way that I'm feeling, get out of this rut, and actually do something beyond just surviving, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a lot of I mean, there's so many people that need the help. I think it's just the storytelling allows you to finally be able to share it so people actually know you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't share or talk about a situation, even if you have the wisdom and even if you have the good heart, they'll never know that they can come to you. And so that's why storytelling is so powerful, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's, I mean, my cheeks are super red right now because every single time I share this one, I have many other stories, but when I share this one, I am hot, I am fire. It's like all of those emotions come up, right?
Yeah,
and so you got to get comfortable with that. But then I can help people through trauma. I can help people through storytelling and the fear of being on stage. And how do I share a personal story and also just share this content that's just part of my business, right? Like sometimes it's not that serious, but some people don't want to be vulnerable like that. But I think there is a yearning, right? Like if someone's called, Virginia, like it's calling you. And I would say I've had a lot of life moments that have redirected me. And so I now surrender to that. And so even when you talk about defining paths, it's like, I used to think I was the one defining my path. And then I realized, oh no, I'm on this journey and I will get redirected by universal forces.
Yes.
And I just surrender to that and make the most of the moment and know that I have a vision and it's just my storytelling is going to get that much better by the time I realize it all.
Yeah, no, that is, I mean, girl, that is so true because it's like learning how to relinquish control and allow, those moments, those redirections to happen instead of fighting against them, because you're gonna keep it going on that cycle of insanity or in those circles until you finally relinquish that control, and follow, why you were put here, what you were meant to do. And I love the fact that, you said sharing your story, allows others to connect. That's how you find your tribe. And that's why I think it's so hard for folks who are trying to, be their own boss, trying to be in business, living outside of those, those constructs of the workplace. And, going back to, pursuing our entrepreneurial spirit, why it's difficult to connect, because they're not sharing their story more. They're just thinking more about the skills, right? The skill sets or, that whole piece. But yeah, it's so powerful what you're doing. So it's so powerful. And you're just a tremendous human being. I love what you're doing and just how you're changing lives, and how you're continuing to allow yourself to grow. I learn from you all the time. So I love the fact that you are, and you said wealth, wisdom and wealth. I love that.
Your wisdom is your wealth.
Yeah.
So all those experiences are for you, are your wealth, and you can share that with the world and make a lot of money with it. And it's your life, right? So you're the expert. You're the one who lived it. And so to use that expertise.
Yes. And your wisdom will make room for you as it has done for you, sis. Thank you so much for being our spotlight today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime, always, we could just go on and on, right? So I guess we better wrap this up.
Yes. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely, sis. So audience, I want you to be sure to follow Annabel Quintero on social media, reach out to her. If you want to learn how to tell your story, if you want to, any of her services, if you need to do a deep dive and just heal from your ancestral traumas, reach out to Annabel. Please tell them, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Annabel?
Sure. Annabel at stepstepjump.com. Or they can go to my website, stepstepjump.com as well. And I'm on Instagram too. So, and LinkedIn. So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the message, to hear the story. That's like the best part for me. So I love creating that safe space for everyone. So I look forward to that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes, folks. And I can vouch, she definitely does create that safe space. And like I said, just tremendous heart, tremendous human being. So read all about Annabel, her full bio. Again, you can read it from our platform with the Define Your Path podcast and connect with her also through social media, Step, Step, Jump. Be sure to visit our virtual home to see what we're up to at definingpaths.online. It's an awful lot, and we'd love to have you come and be a part of our tribe, be a part of our family. So I'm Doc V, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. Be true to you and define your path. Stay open to the universe. Stay open to that source that leads and guides you so that you can find your soul purpose. And we'll see you on our next episode. Thanks again, Annabelle. Super excited to have you here. Thank you, sis.
Thank
Much
you.
love. Okay. Bye, guys.